Hello, welcome to Today in History. My name is Sotonye Afiesimama. It's the 25th of August. Let's get cracking. So, as usual, we will roll back the blinds to the year 1530. On this day, this guy, his name is Ivan the Terrible. Now, in Russian, the word is grozny, spelled Grozny. My Russian viewers, I hope I pronounced that correctly. So grozny means powerful, formidable, etc., etc. So not necessarily terrible, in the sense that the English-speaking world understand the word terrible. So it just means formidable and powerful. He was the Grand Prince of Moscow from 1533 to 1547. And the first Tsar of Russia from 1547 to 1584. Now notice he was made a prince at the age of 3. So that's the year that he lost his father. So obviously, regents took his place until he became an adult, and took over as the Tsar of Russia. So, well, as a prince first and then the Tsar. He was the first son of Vasili III and his second wife, Elena Glinskaya. Elena's mother was a Serbian princess, and her father's family, the Glinski clan, nobles based in the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, claimed descent both from Orthodox Hungarian nobles and the Mongol ruler Mamai, who ruled from 1335 to 1380. So that's Ivan the Terrible, or Ivan the Powerful, Ivan the Formidable, who became a prince on this day he was born on this day in 1530, became a prince in 1533 at the age of 3. Okay, when he lost his dad, obviously. Let's move on to the year 1776, and this guy's name is David Hume. I used to live in Edinburgh, and this is the city of Edinburgh. David Hume is a Scottish economist, historian, philosopher, and he was a Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, historian, economist, and essayist, who is best known today for his highly influential system of philosophical empiricism, skepticism, and naturalism. Beginning with a Treatise of Human Nature in 1739 to 1740, Hume strove to create a naturalistic science of man that examined the psychological basis of human nature. Hume argued against the existence of innate ideas, positing that all human knowledge derives solely from experience. This places him with Francis Bacon, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and George Berkeley as a British empiricist. So yeah, this is David Hume for you. He also has a bust, I believe, in the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. I have worked there, so I'm familiar with the art there, what's on display, and so on and so forth. So yeah, he does have a bust at the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. So whenever you're visiting Edinburgh, drop in to the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. There's a painting of him and a bust as well. So this is outside. This is possibly on Hanover Street or Hanover Square in Edinburgh, but it's bang on in the city centre. This bust that's pictured here. Beautiful city, Edinburgh. Combines the old and new in terms of architecture. It's not a massive city, so in a few minutes, 15-20 minutes, you're in the countryside. It's got a hill. It's got the sea nearby. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My favorite city in the United Kingdom. Go pay Edinburgh a visit. Okay, so let's move on to the year 1825. On this day, Uruguay declares its independence from the Brazilian Empire. The empire consisted of present-day Brazil and Uruguay and had declared its independence from Portugal in 1822. Despite the declaration of independence, Uruguay's independence was not recognized by the empire until August 1928. Wow. when the Treaty of Montevideo was signed. So this was the day that Uruguay made its declaration of independence from the Brazilian Empire. Let's move on to the year 1835. First installment of The Great Moon Hoax was published. What was that about? It was a New York-based newspaper, The Sun, which published a series of articles starting on this day that detailed the supposed discovery of civilization on the moon. Ridiculous. The discoveries were falsely attributed to Sir John Herschel, one of the best-known contemporary astronomers of that time. So that's a picture of the inhabitants of the moon. Obviously someone's imagination, very fertile imagination indeed. Okay, we know a lot better now. We know that there's absolutely no human life there. Okay, 1867, on this day, Michael Faraday died. Who was Michael Faraday? You may ask. He was an English scientist who contributed to the study of electromagnetism and electrochemistry. His main discoveries include the principles underlying electromagnetic induction, diamagnetism, and electrolysis. So that's Michael Faraday for you, who died on this day in 1867. Born on this day, Frederick Nietzsche. Full name Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche was a German philosopher, cultural critic, composer, poet, philologist, and political theorist, whose work has exerted a profound influence on modern intellectual history. He began his career as a classical philologist before turning to philosophy. He became the youngest person ever to hold the chair of classical philology at the University of Basel in 1869 at the tender age of 24. Clever clog. 1908. Mary Mahoney. Who was she? She was the first black nurse. Co-founded the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses, which with Ada B. Thomas. This organization attempted to uplift the standards and everyday lives of African American registered nurses. So this says it all. So you can read that in your own time. You pause the video, read that, do a bit of research about these ladies. Okay, 1927. Born on this day, Althea Gibson. This woman, this is the third video featuring her. Althea Gibson, tennis champion, was born today in South Carolina. The year was 1927. So, happy posthumous birthday. She would have been 93 today, had she been alive. So, Althea Gibson, tennis champion, born in South Carolina today, 1927. Let's move on to the year 1930. Sir Thomas Sean Connery, 007, pictured here. He was born on this day in 1930. He's a Scottish retired actor and producer. Connery was the first actor to portray the character James Bond in film, starring in 7 Bond films. Every film from Dr. No to You Only Live Twice, plus Diamonds Are Forever and Never Say Never Again, between 1962 and 1983. So he got the title Sir because he was knighted by the Queen of England. That's why he's now known as Sir Thomas Sean Connery for his services to the film industry. Okay, so he was once voted sexiest man alive, I believe, a few decades ago. You know, it's not difficult to see why. 1944, on this day, the liberation of Paris. So the battle to liberate Paris, which I prefer, which had been under the Nazi control or under Nazi control since 1940, began on the 19th of August 1944 and ended on this day, the 25th of August 1944. The battle was fought between Nazi soldiers and members of the French resistance group, who were held by the American armed forces headed by General George Patton. The Germans provided little resistance and did not carry out Hitler's orders of razing Paris to the ground. The Nazi commander of Paris, General Dietrich von Choltitz, surrendered to the French and American troops. On August 26, General Charles de Gaulle entered Paris and headed a liberation march on the Champs-Élysées before declaring the provisional government of the French Republic. Let's move on to the year 1991. Michael Schumacher makes his Formula One debut. The German race car champion competed in his first Formula One race at the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. While he did not win that race, he would go on to win 91 Formula One Grand Prix races. Wow. So, Michael Schumacher for you, who made his debut on this day in 1991. 2012, August 25th. The first spacecraft to enter interstellar space, NASA's Voyager 1, pictured here, was launched 5th September 1977 and left the heliosphere on this day. The heliosphere is a part of space that is not influenced by our sun. In February 1990, the spacecraft took the first overview picture of the solar system. It is the most distant man-made object in space. Interesting. The most distant man-made object in space. So that's what you see pictured right here. Also interestingly and coincidentally, we lost Neil Armstrong on this day in 2012. As you all know, Neil Armstrong was an American pilot, engineer, and astronaut. He was the first person to walk on the moon. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. On that note, folks, we'll end today's Today in History. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Also, consider subscribing by clicking the notification bell so that you receive updates of my video uploads. Thanks again, guys. Stay safe, and I shall see you tomorrow, August 26th, for another sizzling edition of Today in History. My name again, Sotonye Afiasimama. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.